Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Shift work and jam sessions. Joined as always. How are you, Dakoda?
I'm doing good, Taylor, and how about yourself?
Doing well, man. Doing really well. This week, season 4, episode 2 from Hip Hop Evolution, the Southern Lab. But before we jump into that, let's go back to the previous episode, season 4, episode 1. Bounce to this. Let's look at our songs that we chose.
Let's get into it.
I'm excited. Do you wanna go first? Do you wanna use my songs? Which should we do?
Well, let's start with. We can start with mine. We'll do. Let's go with Showboys. Drag rap.
Okay.
Yeah. So Showboys drag rap. You had a chance to listen to this, Taylor?
I did, aka Trigger Man, right?
Trigger Man. Yeah, it's interesting that this one came out of Hollis, Queens, but it was like just so heavily reused by all of Louisiana. You know what I mean? Or sorry, New Orleans and Louisiana, with that whole bounce sound, like just wild. What you were able to import and chop up and just play on loop, right?
That's right, man. Yeah, they took this New York sound and song and kind of bass line and then kind of made it their own, right? And used it for how many, countless rappers and countless versions of this song.
Yeah. And that was the point behind this pick is it seemed like it was the bass line and everything cut up, the sample for all of that sound. So yeah, just a little entry version into where this sound came from.
No, that's a great pick, dude, and it's good to start at the beginning. And I didn't realize this. They also used this kind of bass line beginning opener for the TV show Dragnet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, right? That Dragnet's like kind of a detective noir series where it's not really noir, but it's more like police officers solving crimes in LA. So, yeah, it's really well used. It's all over the place, I guess.
It's amazing how much you look at these influences. We're looking at them in this perspective, looking at them through the eye of hip-hop evolution. But when you hear these influences, then you can go and you piece it together that was actually influence for, like this theme song over here, it was used heavily in this, whatever era, and how much those influences actually made it into mainstream, right?
Mm-hmm. No, that's actually a really cool point, man. Digging deeper, right?
That's what it's about. So hit me with one of your picks, Taylor.
Yeah, so one of mine, maybe we'll go from Showboys to DJ Jimmy, Where They At, because DJ Jimmy is one of the ones who used Trigger Man as the bass line for his Where They At song. Where to start with this one, dude? I don't know if I have too much to say. I mean, I was going to bed late last night and I put it on and I think I texted you at like 1 a.m, like, dude.
Yeah.
What is this? This isn't it. This isn't it for me. This is just it's just so repetitive and it's just there's nothing being said and it's oh man, I don't know. It's not for me. What do you think about DJ Jimmy, Where They At?
Well, like I told you in our last episode, I think it's garbage. But with that being said, I gotta take this with an open mind, and I gotta look at where it comes from. I know that the chanting is a big thing, right? Like it is a big, it's bigger than just hip hop. It's like audience involvement. So when you get into that sort of thing and it's live, then I can see kind of where that's going because you're transcending hip hop at that point. Now you're in like this Simon Says. I think you said it best when you made that connection. You're in this Simon Says game where now you're controlling the whole crowd. Like, you've got them literally in the palm of your hand. When I say this, you do this, and everybody's just doing it. So, there's that to be said. That's my positive spin on this.
For sure, man. And it's interesting, right? Like, it's something that I would say that positive spin that you added to it is a big thing in the South, right?
Yeah.
Where we'll get to today's episode a little later, but a lot of chanting, a lot of dancing the same way or doing the same move, and everyone feeling connected because they're doing the same thing, right? So, yeah, it's deeper than rap, right? We've talked about that. Where, yeah, so DJ Jimmy, where they at?
Yeah.
Let's go with your next pick, my man.
Okay, so yeah, my next up was Master P, Rolling the Dice. So this was a way different song. Like, this was a way different sound out of the South than what we're used to in this era. And, I really thought that this was, more of that gangster West Coast influence rap. But what was your take on this?
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing, man. I know we watched the episode Bounce to this, so I'm expecting, a lot more bounce influence, and it wasn't the case. Like, if you would have told me, like, if I would have not known anything about this and you would have played it for me, I'd been like, oh, is that, what West Coast group is that, right? Or who's the artist? And yeah, totally different than what was popular at the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so your next pick was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Real Big by Manny Fresh?
That's right, man. And the reason I picked this one was I remember listening to this when I was a lot younger and thinking, what area is this? Because this isn't New York, this isn't West Coast. And feeling like this is real Southern for me, ATL, and had that Manny Fresh style too. Like, you can hear his producing in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is shining music. You know what I mean? Like, this is totally Manny Fresh's style.
Mm-hmm. I love how he in it, like, he stops it and then, like, speaks, or he stops it and says something. Like, I like that style too, where he's rapping, but at the same time he has a funny ad lib or funny thing to add to it, which is so Manny Fresh, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, good pick.
Awesome. Should we get to today's episode, my man?
Yeah, let's get into it. The Southern Lab.
Yeah, that's right. They started in Houston. A lot of Paul Wall talking about it, which is kind of cool. You have a Houston rapper. But kind of the first big name they talk about is DJ Screw. Do you wanna take it from there? What do you think about DJ Screw, and tell us about what he kind of created?
Yeah, this is like the perfect example of just how many ways you can take hip hop and run with it. Like, no one had messed around with this before, and so basically, DJ Screw's whole thing was, he would put on a good beat, he would record, have a whole bunch of freestyling, and then he would go back to the lab with it. Then he would so it's like, let's record this, and you come out with your best freestyle, I'll come out with my best freestyle, and we'll put it down in real time. But then DJ Screw goes to the lab and he takes this back and he slows it right down. And so that was one of the big interesting points to me, is that chopped and screwed sound. A lot of people would assume that is recorded with them talking slow and everything. But actually, no, it's all in real time, and then it's slowed down, chopped and screwed, right? So, yeah, no, just an amazing style that really came out of nowhere. And yeah, like DJ Screw is the father of that. What were your thoughts on it, Taylor?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That kind of chopping up, like you said, real time, taking two people or three people or four people, whatever it is, chopping that, making it into one song, and then slowing it right down. Where, when they were talking to Paul Wall, he's like, down here it's so hot, you gotta move slow, right? So everything's slower. You talk a little slower, and and the music too, man. So I feel like again, he's kind of taking what's around him and putting it into his music. And yeah, he created something brand new. And I think it's a little bit of an acquired taste or a little bit of an understanding to get it. I think Paul was saying that we're actually saying something in it. Listen to the lyrics. We're actually talking. It's not just noise and country stuff. It's actually saying something with our own style behind it.
Yeah, some real lyricists with southern accents.
That's right.
Yeah, but the whole style and everything, I know that they made a statement on the episode there, Hip Hop Evolution, saying that DJ Screw didn't need you to be high to understand his music, but if you had ever gotten into, promethazine, also known as lean or whatever, right? Then you would understand it a lot better too. But that's kind of the cool thing is that, this sound kind of transcends that, and you don't have to be high to listen to it, but when you listen to it, you almost feel high, right? Like that slowed down sound, and everything's just moving a lot slower. And, as far as lyrics go, like that's when you, for me, like you can really get into the lyrics a lot better. If you stop and listen to it, you do see that this is, like you said, this is way more than just a sound. And for DJ Screw, he kind of followed that same style that we've seen a lot of people have followed with the blueprint of, making those tapes, the mixtapes and whatnot, and $10 a tape, $12 for a shout out, $15 to $20 to get on the mic and do a freestyle. And that kind of just escalated for him, right? Like to the point where he wasn't even able to do this out of his house anymore because the cops thought that he was dealing drugs out of his house. So he actually had to get a professional shop and get a professional setup. And I mean, like, that just goes to show, like, when you got something good, when you have something that is uniquely you and it works, that, the demand for it exceeds the supply. So it's like, yeah, they had to move on to that next level and get that store. So yeah, just a really cool look into DJ Screw.
Yeah, man, that's a great point where the supply is less than demand. It's just amazing to think about with something like mixtapes, right? Where you think you can do that so quickly and so many people want it that, hey, I need like a brick and mortar here. Like I need and set hours so you're not coming by at like 3 a.m. You know what I mean? So yeah, really, really cool look into that. Did you have anything else to add about DJ Screw in Houston before we move on?
Yeah, well, I guess maybe just that we could touch on, like his untimely death.
Yeah,
that one was just taken too soon, right? And everybody, suspected that it was an OD from drug use, but there was talk that he had heart problems and whatnot before that. So definitely the drug use probably didn't help. It only added to the issues that were already underlying. But yeah, that would be the only thing that I would add before we move on to, like you were about to shout out, Memphis, also known as Soulsville.
That's right.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Taylor?
Yeah, so Memphis, Tennessee. yeah, Soulsville and a lot of their songs take away from hip hop, but I mean like a lot of songs are soul music and gospel like and you just feel like the energy from there. I didn't realize and when they were interviewing some of the artists there that they still kind of harbor feelings about Dr. Martin Luther King dying there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they still feel kind of a sadness and feel like Memphis is known for that, which I feel like people have moved on, but maybe being there, they feel like they're still accountable and still feel like people are pointing fingers. But so yeah, so it's a really interesting place where you see one of the artists there, interviewing has like a cowboy hat on and like it's just so different, man.
Yeah.
So different. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think Memphis has a lot of things to talk about and lots to say, but the way the show went, they talked about DJ Spanish Fly.
Yeah.
And just before I pass it on to you to talk about him. That Jerry curl though, man. When
Yeah.
he was, that was wow, dude. That was like if you look up the definition of the Jerry curl, DJ Spanish Fly is gonna be like the front cover of
Oh yeah.
that.
Definitely, man.
And a lot of his music, big bass, and a little darker notes. What did you think about DJ Spanish Fly?
Yeah, man. I can't even touch on that Jerry curl, but yeah, he kind of started that whole sound of the 808s and mixing it with like your horror movie eerie sounds. Um, it definitely for him, it sounded like it was coming from a place of there wasn't that much that was able to be played on the radio. There wasn't that much that like he himself um, was a DJ, right? And got kicked off of the radio for playing Two Live Crew. Throw that D.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, kind of the same deal. Like really got into the mixtapes, and I mean, if you could get on one of Spanish Fly's mixtapes early on, like there was no mainstream in the South for hip hop at that time, and so if you got onto a mixtape of DJ Spanish Fly, then that was the epitome of making it. That was how you found out that you made it, sort of deal, right? And
Yeah.
and like the barbershops and everything, nobody's listening to the radio, tuning into whatever channel. Everybody's just relying on mixtapes and stuff. So it's again no surprise that somebody like this would be able to come out and just grab a hold of the market, because there's first you've got somebody with a crazy amount of talent that has a good ear for music, and back that up with there's really no competition when you don't have a mainstream portal for this stuff to come through. Then just a little innovation and you can be on top of the game too, right?
That's right, dude. Absolutely. And he got to the point where he was, going to stores and they were buying his cassettes for $25, man. Mixtapes for $25.
Yeah.
Which I think in today's age with inflation, all that stuff is about $50, man. Could you imagine paying $50 for a mixtape?
Yeah. No, I couldn't.
So and it sounded like he was selling hundreds, if not thousands, of those, right? And um, it just makes you go to think like how popular and how this underground movement moves so fast, right? And the demand, we talked about supply and demand. The demand for this type of music was huge, man.
Yeah, big time, big time. And
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 yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
yeah, And that's coming off of that whole buck jump style, right? That was the demand. The demand was for that buck jump style of music. And, DJ Spanish Fly came out with Gangsta Walk, and that was essentially just buck jump, you know?
Yeah.
If you had any problem with anybody, you know, out on the dance floor, they were catching an elbow to the face as you're going around doing your gangster walk, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they even said, you know, LL Cool J was down there doing it, right? You know what I mean? So, like, they're bringing people from all over, you know, listen to that music and getting into the walk, right?
Yeah. And there, again, like, we're, you know, like we talked about last episode and the beginning of this a little bit, a lot of that ceremonialness to that music, a lot of that chanting, that, you know, like almost putting people into a hypnotic trance or something.
That's a great point, man, because, yeah, like, we'll get to, you know, some guys later on who turn into crunk, but it's the same thing. It's just like you get into this state and, you know, you need to release that energy somehow, right? And you know, whether it's elbows, whether it's the dancing, whether it's just letting your body go, but you're in a different state totally, man.
Yeah.
And from that kind of big bass, darker notes, next up is 3-6 Mafia that take that to, you know, another level, basically called, what is it, horror rap or horrorcore?
Yeah.
Where some of those lyrics, man, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, they definitely took that sound and made it their own, my man. Like, really. DJ Paul, Juicy J, you know, and the whole 3-6 Mafia crew, when they came out with Mystic Stylez, it sounded like a movie. It sounded like you take that gangsta walk of you know, DJ Spanish Fly, and then you put it with like some sinister, you know, horror movie stuff in the background. The record sounds like a movie. Like, it plays out like a movie. So yeah, it's really again, just like a dialed in sound to something uniquely Southern, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the type of movie is like a horror movie, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
it's like the sequel to Friday the 13th, or what I know what you did last summer, or that kind of stuff, because it's pretty dark, pretty trippy, and the lyrics are pretty dark.
Yeah.
I remember one of the members from 3-6 Mafias, she said that her mom kind of kicked her out of the house for a bit because she had like a witch's grimoire or something.
Yeah.
So they were getting into some dark stuff, but yeah, they made that sound uniquely theirs, and yeah, that was pretty big. What were your thoughts on? Because just before it ended and they moved on, DJ Paul made kind of a big statement. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, where he said, in his opinion, 3-6 Mafia was the best rap group of all time. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think there's a ton of talent right there, because, you know, like, you listen to it, like, that's a lyricist's dream, is a lot of these records. There's actually substance to it. It's not just, you know, just chanting or whatever. But I don't know. That's a pretty big statement to be making too. I think that anybody in that position thinks that their band is the biggest, but, like, you know, I'm a big fan of the Wu-Tang. Let's go back and talk to RZA, and I don't know, he's more of a humble guy. He may even think, though, that Wu-Tang was the best group ever. You know what I mean? You go back to, let's go to
The Furious Five.
Furious
Grandmaster
5.
Flash?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, and they probably thought that they were the best group ever. So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can take that statement any other way than, well, you were part of it, so of course you think it was the biggest, right?
That's right. Yeah, you can throw NWA in there and
Yeah.
Run DMC, and there's a lot. So I do appreciate the courage and the faith and belief in yourself to say something like that. I do, but yeah, I think that's a pretty bold statement. But hey, we talk about bold, and you want to hear belief in yourself. Next up, Lil Jon, man, and the East Side Boys.
Oh boy.
I think I'm just gonna pass the mic and let you speak and
Yeah.
hear what you truly have to say about Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, because we talked about it in our last episode where you mentioned, you know, he was sitting behind the desk for a while, right?
Yeah. So he did. He started off as Jermaine Dupri's A&R guy for So So Def. Like he was, you know, behind a desk doing work. Also out there in the clubs and, you know, making public appearances for the record label and all that too. So, no, he definitely knew how to party. He was definitely already doing these things out there. You know, being in the club, being on the scene and in the music industry. So, you know, he's a unique character too, because you take like this you know, skater, punk rock, club, mosh pit, like, throw it all in together, right? And he just made this sound of his own. And anytime he comes on, thanks to Dave Chappelle, I think everybody will always remember Lil Jon and the East Side Boys for that. Yeah, and everything, right? So, yeah, no, he's he openly admits that he was not, you know, not a rapper and had no book of rhymes. So, you know, right there, you're already gaining respect in my books by coming out from the bat and making it known that that's not you. You're just out here, you're a hype man, and you got some good beats and definitely know how to market that shit. So, you know, I'll put that positive spin on it.
Yeah, for sure, man. That says a lot that he's willing and open to say that, hey, I'm not a rapper by any means. I'm not a lyricist by any means. But what I can do is get the crowd hyped, and I can get people to feel the music and feel what I'm trying to say and put out there. So, okay, right off the bat, like you said, okay, we know what he is. He knows what he is. And the thing is, he's amazing at what he is.
Yeah.
Right? He knows that lane, and he's, you know, one of the best at it, right? And you have him, the East Side Boys, Yin Yang Twins. They all knew what their role was, right? They all knew what the job was, and they did it great. And the thing is, I know that you and I really are more into lyricism, more into a book of rhymes. But there are people out there who just want to go to a club and just enjoy themselves. They don't want to have to think. They just want to get away from the struggles of everyday life and release that energy. So I can't say that it's necessarily a bad fault or a bad thing or anything, because people are looking for that, and the people who are looking for that found it, right?
Absolutely.
Which is cool, because you even see when he did his performances at, you know, whether it was, I don't know if it was the Grammys or the Oscars or some bigger events, you know, you had people of all shapes and sizes and colors getting crunked, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So,
I think they even zoomed in on Bruce Willis there.
I
Getting
think
wild
so.
in
I
the
think I
crowd.
saw. Yeah, that's right. So you had some big names dancing to Get Low, right? And Some of the lyrics in there, I think people now look back on it and are like, what the heck? How is that not bleeped out?
Yeah. Oh no, what have we
But,
done?
That's right. But yeah, no, I think I think he's gonna have that part in history and that little space for himself and his group. But I think it's one of those things that sadly isn't going to live long, right? It had its
Right.
space, and I'm glad he was able to make his own music and feel it. But I don't think crunk is going to be as big as it was back then.
Yeah, no, and you make a good point too that it's definitely a release music. It's just to go out there and nothing else really enters your mind when you're listening to that. You're not relating it back to anything negative or positive. It's just I'm just out here just feeling the music.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, man. So that pretty much wraps up the Southern Lab. It was a nice look to see at the other Southern states and what they're kind of producing and some sounds from them. Did you have anything to add before we give our picks for the week?
No, I think let's get into those picks, bud.
Awesome. So maybe I'll go first for this one. I'll give you my two.
Okay.
So the first one is 3-6 Mafia, Poppin' My Collar. The reason I picked this one is because back in the college days, the guy from the South used to like just put this song on replay, man. Like,
Yeah.
this was just going. So it's gonna be a little bit nostalgic for me. Listen to that again. It's an interesting one. And then the other one I'm gonna pick is Devin the Dude. What a Job.
Yep.
And I believe Snoop Dogg and Andre 3000 are on that track as well.
Yeah, they are.
The reason I'm picking Devin the Dude is because I think he's a super underrated artist from Houston, and I just don't think he got the fame, and maybe that's not what he was looking for either, but as like a Paul Wall or a Bun B or UGK and the other boys down there. So hopefully it can give him some light and have a listen.
Yeah, no, that's killer, man. No, I really like those two picks. Looking forward to listening to that.
For sure, dude.
So yeah, on my side, I'm gonna one of my picks is gonna be from 3-6 Mafia too, but I'm gonna take it to the other end. Poppin' My Collar was kind of one of their more I'm gonna say one of their later career hits. So I'm gonna take it back to one of the earlier career hits, and let's go to Mystic Stylez off of that Mystic Stylez album. So I think that's one of their first albums produced mainstream. So yeah, I'm gonna take it back to Mystic Stylez by 3-6 Mafia for my first pick. The next one I'm going to pick is DJ Screw, and let's listen to Pimp Tha Pen.
I like it.
Yeah.
Why did you pick that one, my man?
You got to throw something to DJ Screw, like all of that. I mean, his influence can still be heard today in music, and there's a mad amount of talent. So I wanted to go with something earlier on from him, and this is this is definitely the beginning of that sound, or near the beginning of that sound that he is so notorious for.
I love it, man. That's a good pick. Both of those are good picks.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to listening to that and breaking them down.
Right on, buddy. Me too. All four of those are going to be good ones, so looking forward to it.
Sounds good, man. All right, until the next episode, I hope you take care, and thanks for listening.
Right on. And signing off.